How's everyone doing? Okay? You all know that if you've been reading the paper at all, a lot about me that I care for you to know. So I won't go to a bio because it's been pretty upfront and personal. Being born and raised here, there's been a lot of interest in kind of who I am and what I'm about. What I will tell you though is that I want to reach out to every community in Dallas and make it as important as any. We want to treat everyone fairly. We want to apply the laws evenly across this city. The priority though is reducing crime. That's our priority, continuing the reduction in crime. This will be the 7th consecutive year of reduction in crime in Dallas. And we also want to focus on interactions or community engagement improvements wherever we can in every community. Which leads me to the incident here, most recently the robbery. That actually was an aggravated robbery on last Saturday. And what I want to say about that is that I was pleased with our response immediately, which we increased patrols immediately, just based on an aggravated assault. I was disappointed in the delay in classifying it as a hate crime. It was 2 days later. And one of the other things I'd like to also talk about that incident is that whatever input you can give us on improving communication with this community, we're open to it. And we want to improve in any way possible. But that doesn't mean we won't make mistakes, but with a good relationship, we can move past mistakes more easily, more readily, and get to a better place. And so we're open for suggestions. We've already had some conversations through our liaison, Laura Martin, on ways to communicate. She's on our command email system, which means she gets notified with the chief of police on major incidents. That way, if it impacts this community, she's a direct liaison contact. So that's one improvement. But we also want to hear from you, if not just tonight, just a continuing communication and conversations about how can we improve the way we interact so that we can make all areas of Dallas, specifically this one, more safe. And I won't take much other time because I want a lot of Q&A. I like conversation. I like talking with people about resolving problems. So I want to hear from you. Even if you need to vent, I want to hear from you.
Can you talk a little bit about that 2-day delay in classifying that as a hate crime? Was there some kind of breakdown, or what was the problem there? And why is that important to have that classified as a hate crime?
The classification for a hate crime can happen in a couple of ways. The first way is that the officers who respond to the call recognize the elements of a hate crime and designate that immediately when they call in the report or actually type in on the MDC. That didn't happen. They made it an aggravated robbery, felony of the first degree. And once the investigators got assigned the offense, which is a computer sending the report to a unit. And the unit, it prints off and they read it. So they get all these reports and crimes against persons. And they get this aggravated robbery and start reading, and they recognize the language was used during the offense. And they, at that point, deem it a hate crime, which ended up being Monday instead of, it was actually Saturday morning when the offense happened, like 12:30 or 12:46 in the morning. And so that caused a delay. The officer didn't recognize some of the elements, the language being used. And so it didn't get assigned until the detective read the offense on Monday and deemed it a hate crime. What that delay does is that we could have and should have notified the community of this offense occurring so they can be more aware that Saturday night when, similar incident could have happened. It didn't, thank God, but it could have happened. Those same people could have been roaming around, but they weren't. But we want to notify the community as soon as we can to be on the lookout for these suspects. And one of the things that we can do to improve that, the first step is that the liaison for this community, Laura Martin, can be on our email system, because I get email all night long about newsworthy offenses and just key offenses that happen. And so this came up, and that's the question I had Saturday and Sunday. Hey, somebody look at this and see if it might be something we ought to designate as a hate crime. I can't read the actual offense, but it just seemed peculiar to me that it just was an aggravated robbery. Laura can chime in if she gets that email and start talking to the community right away. Again, I started out saying about this incident that we immediately increased patrols. That happened Saturday, that same day. But I like the idea of interacting with the community right away, notifying people to be more aware, to look out for suspicious activity, look out for, all we knew was Latin males as far as the suspects were concerned. And we didn't have any identifiers, but to be on the lookout for something similar. Someone walking behind you, or just be aware of your surroundings, travel in pairs if you know, if at all possible. And that's why that's important. And I'm listening for what other ways would you like for us to notify you? Because Laura has worked really good in this community, and she knows the key stakeholders to get in touch with so they can be, you know, put out. But there's a lot of electronic ways we can let you know. Is that a preferred way, or, you know, email blast? However you like.
Do you have a Facebook?
I don't have one, but you know, I've been thinking about using social media, not just Facebook, but Twitter. We currently use Nixle really well, and I think that's a really good way to engage the community, because that's how people communicate now. Not many people will come to a meeting on a Tuesday at 7, but they may tweet you their concerns or their input. I don't want to get too high level in my discussions. That will be one of the top efforts in my tenure as police chief, is that currently, and what's really been successful for the police department reducing crime, we've done hotspot policing, which means the highest crime areas get the most police. Actually, we deploy resources around these hotspots throughout the city. There are about 14 or 15 of them that are really hotspots, and there are another 14 or 15 that are not as hot, but we put a lot of resources. A neighborhood that doesn't have that really high level of crime wouldn't get a lot of attention as far as police is concerned. And that's been really successful in reducing crime. The shift that I intend on making, without abandoning hotspots, is to re-engage in community policing, which speaks to your point. Does that make sense? Where you have entertainment districts, large, you know, very vibrant areas that don't necessarily have really, really high crime, but they need a police presence so that it can stay a safe area. And so that's going to be a significant shift under my tenure, to not just be kind of a one-trick pony where you only do hotspot policing, but you also move the department to other areas of the city so that you can address issues like you're saying, where you don't have a lot of visibility of police officers, but it's significant to you to feel safe by seeing people walking, riding bikes, slowing down, getting out of the car, and talking and interacting with the community, even though it's not a very, very high crime area, which this is not. This is not a very, very high crime area. This would not be one of our hotspots, and so you haven't seen a lot of police. But other parts of Northwest Division are very, very hot spots, and they see a lot of police, but it has significantly reduced crime, but it hadn't spoken to the needs of the community as a whole in visibility, in seeing police and interacting with police. You know, you could look at the number of police, 3,600 police, 1.3 million people in this city. We have to have people involved in order to help us be the eyes and ears and put bad guys in jail and make sure we continue to be safe. And that's my last question. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I hope you'll invite me back soon. Thank you.